Tonight on the show, we talk about Auburn's dramatic win in Oxford, 35-31 win over Ole Miss. In our film session, we look at 3 big plays that led to an Auburn victory, and we round it out by looking ahead to a Texas A&M game for Auburn. A big game as Auburn tries to stay in the SEC West hunt and the national title hunt. This is Auburn Intel. For the 12th time as head coach and 9th time at Auburn, Gus Malzahn led his team to a victory in a one-score football game. Malzahn is now 12-1 as a head coach in one-score games. Auburn's 35-31 victory over Ole Miss was the Tigers' 8th victory of a ranked opponent in 22 games with Malzahn as head coach. Quite an impressive feat. And it keeps Auburn firmly in the SEC West and college football playoff hunt. Guys, what do we make of Auburn 35-31 over Ole Miss? Down 10 points in the early in the third quarter, and then they just turned it on and kind of hit another stride and come back and win a dramatic game.
I go back to the quote I saw attributed to Gus. There's a lot of champions in that locker room, and I think that we have taken the championship that we won last year, and it's become part of our personality. Every team is going to have things that happen to them they're going to turn against. How you react, that's how you determine if you are a champion or not. So I'd say Gus has got it right. I mean, these guys play like champions.
It was a weird game to watch. I mean, it was a great game, a great back and forth, but a lot of things that we did poorly, a lot of things that we did fantastic. Just a team full of grit and resolve. Like Coach said, a team full of champions. Fantastic as far as the way that it ended. It's the best road victory in all of college football, surpassing their previous.
Right.
What was the previous one in Manhattan, Kansas. So they're a team that's getting better in areas. They're a team that over the last couple of weeks looked like they've taken a step back in others. But they've got to get that shored up here as they move ahead to Texas A&M.
Did you expect Auburn to put up 500-plus yards on that defense?
I thought they could.
I did.
I mean, across the board, they were essentially the top defense in a lot of different efficiency categories. They were at the top of the list.
Well, we looked at some things walking in. What was going to be important in this game? It was going to be quarterback play. It was going to be the way that our coaches were able to make adjustments in game, and basically what it boiled down to, in my eyes, was the play of Nick Marshall. And I mean, he just rose to the challenge like he always does, and he's the difference maker. And when he plays like that, Auburn's not going to lose. It's just ingrained in his mentality.
I think it starts with Nick, and I can go off, stop right there, and talk about it. Probably will later. But the combination of that and the physicalness that we attacked Ole Miss with. I mean, I told you I was sitting here. I've been to Ole Miss a bunch of times from a lot of different. There's one thing, and when you start talking about how skilled they were up front and how athletic and laying sharp and all that stuff. Let me tell you what, they got beat up against LSU. They didn't want no more. We let them know right off the bat this is going to be down and dirty. Yeah. And that's what we made it. We made it down and dirty. And I tell you, after a while now, that wasn't the personality of the team that, that had all those records and had done all those great things. I mean, we physically took some of the will out of their defense.
And something that was interesting to me was how fast we started. We talk about, and Coach Malzahn talked a lot about going on the road and getting a fast start, and it was the complete opposite of the way we started in Mississippi,
right,
in Starkville against Mississippi State. It almost had the effect of being too easy. I almost think it gave them a false sense of security, in that they were so dominant on that opening drive, and then they turned around and forced a punt initially. I'm not sure exactly how important it is to get out to a fast start like they did here at Ole Miss. You don't want to lose a game like you did in Starkville, but,
Right.
but I think things came too easily early on.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I thought it was, even though right after that, the second quarter was a disaster for both teams, but I think at least it kind of set the tone that, I mean, right off the bat, they went and scored a touchdown. And even though they had some then they hit those speed bumps in the second quarter, I think at least they could look back and say, we're going to be fine. Like, we did it right off the bat. We'll get back to it. So it was at least a good thing to see. It's certainly a sign of things to come when you look back at how they performed in the second half. Almost 300 total yards, 3 touchdowns.
And the balance, the fact that it was
Incredible balance.
within 1 yard of each other with passing and rushing in this game. I mean, they had to have those plays through the air, and boy, they picked them up at just the right times.
And the penalties, ooh.
Penalties were terrible.
That's the one
Frustrating.
huge negative,
That
right?
was 105 yards
Yeah.
in the first half.
Yeah.
It almost equaled Ole Miss's rushing stats, and
It
that's
was
just
terrible.
unheard of.
It was terrible. But Auburn gets the win. When we get back, we're going to look at 3 big plays that helped Auburn defeat Ole Miss and break it down in our film session when we get back on Auburn Intel. Welcome back into Auburn Intel. This is our film session where we break down 3 big plays for Auburn in a 35-31 win over Ole Miss. We like to mix it up and just try to pick out 3 important plays. In a game like this, there were a ton, but we wanted to pick 3 plays that were not only big, but had a little bit of schematic element to it, something that we want to break down. So we're going to get right to it. The first play is Nick Marshall's 57-yard touchdown pass to Sammy Coates in the second quarter. Guys, here we are, 1st and 10, minute and a half left in the second quarter. Big play, 14-7. Ole Miss had taken the lead right before half. What are you looking at in this formation right here? Here's Sammy right here, but what are you guys looking at?
Well, they've got he's one-on-one and the corner's leveraged inside, which tells me they're probably playing man-free. And but what is going to get him open is it's going to be a double cut. He's gonna break the cushion down and run a hitch and go basically, or a hitch and along the way the free safety is really going to be late bailing out of there. A perfect throw. One thing that amazed me was how far he threw the ball.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the thing that I see is that this is a condensed formation. There's not a lot of guys out in pass patterns, and in fact, there's only going to be 2 guys that go out, which tells me as a safety there's something big coming because he wants a lot of time to get it off.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and roll it right here, and you'll watch Nick. He really had a good pocket. He didn't need a move, but he did. And then 63 yards off one step. And a great throw. What I love about that throw is he put it in the middle of the field. Sammy had his guy beaten. Instead of trying to put it down the field, Sammy was on the inside, so he put it on the inside, and he allowed Sammy to run to it.
It was a terrific throw. I also think that corner can fly because to be stride for stride with Sammy,
right? I mean, that's a good
Sammy
corner.
Coates,
Yeah,
he played it as well as you can, which tells me outstanding catch by Sammy Coates. He's a guy that'll drop what is perceived to be an easy catch every once in a while.
Make the tough one.
For that hand to come across his face and across the ball there and still maintain the concentration to catch it was huge.
Yeah, and the big thing is you look in here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 guys right here. So, and these 2 guys are level. Yeah. So, I mean, when Sammy runs his speed.
And they all got their eyes in the backfield.
Yeah.
And this corner shouldn't have, but he bites on the cut.
Yeah, roll it one more time and you'll see
This to me, fits in the category of I trust my
receiver. And good
receiver.
blocking by these guys staying with it, right?
He threw this ball up with people that could get there. He trusted his receiver.
Yeah.
If it was not on the money, that Sammy would turn into defensive back.
Yeah.
He told Coach when they broke the huddle, hey,
it's
coming to you, regardless.
It's coming to you. And when we'll go to this next play. But the one thing, I love the linemen. Nobody's talked about that, but if you look at that again, there's 2 linemen that are, here was the pocket, they're way out there with him. And I think they've learned to do that with Nick a little bit, stay with him and help block a little bit. If they're not out there, he didn't get that throw off.
Nick inspires blocking, he inspires catching, he inspires everything.
Yeah, this next play was another Nick Marshall touchdown pass, third quarter, 17-yard touchdown pass to Marcus Davis. You see 2nd and 9. 2 minutes left in the third quarter. Ole Miss was up 24-14. Auburn had just scored a touchdown to make it 24-21. Here they are marching back down the field. What are you guys seeing on this formation?
I'll tell you what I see. I see the receiving core in that typically blocks. All right, there is no Sammy Coates. There is no Duke Williams. When I see this grouping in, I'm expecting Cameron Artis-Payne
Melvin
to
Ray
get the
up
ball.
here at the top.
Mm-hmm.
It's zone coverage. I'm pretty sure it's zone coverage. You don't get to see all over the field. But this corner is going to really focus on what happens when you have a great wide receiver core. He's going to focus on the number 1 receiver running inside, and it's going to give the wheel route a chance to run to the flat and then turn up the side.
Yeah, Ole Miss should have had this covered. They should have, go ahead and roll it, and we'll watch Marcus Davis in the slot, and there it is. This guy gets lost. And it's a good design because what happened when the running back came out, the guy who had Marcus Davis in the flats, all of a sudden his eyes went to the running back.
Yeah.
And that's when Davis went right by him.
Yeah,
So it's a
May
good
have been
design.
designed initially for man coverage.
Right.
But either way, I mean, it was
Great
a decision to throw the ball to the right guy.
But you're
And a
right.
good catch, too, right?
Watch Artis Payne come out. It
Yeah,
grabs the
boom.
attention of the outside linebacker, and that was a terrific catch.
It
I mean,
really
that
was.
is not an
Great
easy
catch.
catch
Nick
to
threw a
make.
little bit of a bullet there, huh?
Yeah, he did, and he had to get his hands situated properly and right there on the sideline.
Let's talk about this last play. That was a great play by Nick Marshall to Marcus Davis that gave Auburn the lead. The last play we're going to talk about is the last play in the football game. Chris Frost forced fumble on Laquan Treadwell. First, we hope Laquan Treadwell recovers well. This was a horrible thing to watch. We wish Laquan Treadwell nothing but the best. But it's important to
one
show
of the
this
best
play.
players we've seen in a long
Yeah,
time.
and he'll be
for
back,
any
and he'll be
team.
back.
Yeah.
But it's important to show this play because it was a huge play in the game, and I think we can talk about the play without being, insensitive to Laquan Treadwell. We wish him well. He's an amazing player, but give Chris Frost some credit when you watch this
Put
play.
your finger where he started at, because
Yeah,
that's the
you watch-
impressive thing.
yeah.
I mean, where Chris Frost
yeah.
is standing on the line of scrimmage, actually with a blitz.
And they blitz.
assignment.
They blitz, and they call a screen, and it was a perfect
Where
call
he
from Ole
started
Miss.
from and what
Go ahead and
assignment
roll
he
it.
started with.
Here he is, comes up.
Now
There he is.
you just see how far and how hard he stayed after this. It was great effort on his part.
Yeah.
Well, it was a
And a lot of guys give him credit for chasing this down to recover it as well.
Absolutely.
it was the culmination of basically this entire game.
There it is right
it was both beautiful to watch and ugly to watch all
Yeah.
at the same time
Right.
because
Yeah, roll it again, and you'll see this thing.
we're in man-to-man, which is a terrible call for the play that they run. Tons of missed tackles on the play.
Right.
He breaks through, but yet we never quit. We make a terrific athletic play, and you've got a teammate there to pick up the pieces when the ball's on the ground
Great
and win the
hustle.
football game.
Great hustle.
Yeah, give Chris Frost a lot of credit. We wish Laquan Treadwell nothing but the best. He's going to come back strong, but you've got to give credit. Football's a game of contact. Laquan Treadwell, if he were standing here, would say, things happen. And so give Chris Frost some credit for not giving up on the play, chasing Treadwell down, and Auburn wins the game. So amazing play, unbelievable finish, certainly one we're going to remember for a long time. When we get back, we're going to talk about Auburn and Texas A&M on Auburn Intel. Welcome back into the show. Auburn remains number 3 in the college football playoff rankings after beating Ole Miss, staying behind Mississippi State at number 1 and Florida State at number 2. The Tigers return home this Saturday to face Texas A&M, who's 6-3 and has lost 3 straight conference games in blowout fashion. The Aggies will start freshman quarterback Kyle Allen against an all-of-a-sudden reeling Auburn defense, certainly an Auburn secondary that's struggling. The Tigers have had no such problems on offense, though, rolling to over 500 total yards on Ole Miss, and they'll look to take care of business on Saturday before 2 season-defining games at Georgia and at Alabama, guys, that will make their season. What does Auburn need to do coming off of Ole Miss, going into this game against Texas A&M that has a lot of playmakers, but they've struggled. They've got, they're sort of dangerous, but a freshman quarterback, he's talented. But what does Auburn need to do in this game to get ready for Georgia and Alabama? It's going to kind of make or break things.
Well, what you just said, the freshman quarterback, I think that's the cure that for what ails us right now, having a young guy that they're going to have to come in. I mean, that's an environment that he's not going to perform well in. And, defensively, I think we've played well. I just think the secondary has been the weak link, and tackling took a step back. But the defensive front, the front seven, we have shut down running games
They really
all
have.
season, and did it again in Oxford. The only running game that they really had was quarterback scrambling, and then a couple of times getting
We
outflanked.
adjusted and started squeezing that lane down.
Right.
Half
But-
their yards were Bo Wiles' 59
just
yard
on
run.
breakdown
Yeah.
on rushing lanes. But having a young guy come in, getting some confidence restored for the young secondary, I think is going to be pivotal.
I think I put Texas A&M in the category of Ole Miss. If you make it physical, you see a different kind of team. And I think it's our nature to make it physical. And I think we just got to make sure that we don't lose who we are, that we go out there and attack their front and build the running game, the play action pass off the running game. On the other side, I think we got to make them one-dimensional. It's the same old story every week, really. But I think on the side of improvement, I mean, they're going to test us with really quality receivers, and we have got to tackle because as Rob and I both alluded to over and over. I mean, we took a step backwards in the secondary, and we got to feel a little better about ourselves when this game's over with.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I think the secondary is the thing. I mean, they had only given up 4 passing touchdowns up until South Carolina. They've given up 7 in the last 2 games. They've given up 750-something passing yards in 2 games. And Ellis Johnson's talked about communication. But that's the thing. The offense is rolling as good as it was rolling last year, running the football. But the balance that they've got going now is pretty incredible. You like where that's at. The defense, and in particular the secondary, that's what has to sort of – you want to see good communication issues. You want to see communication do well against Texas A&M. That's a – tackling, I feel like maybe a bad game, but communication, that's a problem. 2 straight weeks we've heard communication is an issue in the secondary. That's not good.
It speaks to youth primarily.
Gives up big plays and gets you beat, right?
It speaks to youth, but it also speaks to the loss of Jermaine Whitehead. You don't replace a senior safety overnight. I mean, you know, those guys look to him all through the offseason, all through preseason camp, all through the first couple of games, 100%. And then he's not there.
There's always one strong voice in any really good secondary, an older guy that can scream and point and direct.
Well, particularly when you've got a former halfback, tailback playing safety.
Who's
you've got a former receiver playing corner. You've got a former corner playing safety. Yeah. So you've got guys that are cobbled back there without somebody that's the glue to hold all that together.
It's all understandable. We just got to do something about it.
Well, and it seems like they've hit. I mean, you know, you look at Jermaine. There was a number of games. I mean, he played the first 2, and then that's it. They played Kansas State, LSU, Mississippi State without him. And we didn't hear about these communication issues, but I guess as you get further in the season, teams scout you, they know, and they can take advantage. And then when they take advantage, then when things go bad, then the communication maybe comes up?
Well, yes, because that's where they're being attacked.
Right.
And it's less to do with these guys playing poorly. It's more to do with the fact that people can't run the ball on us. And so they have to go over the top and go after these guys. And we've played some prolific teams that can do that.
It's going to keep happening. I mean, we're not going to have this game where we show up and we shut people's passing game down. Really, as long as we're stopping the run, we're playing good in the red zone, they're going to get yardage. But what we got to stop doing, I mean, the one measuring is when a 12-yard, 10-yard catch ends up being a goddamn 20 or 16-plus yard play because, you know, they're going to complete some passes. But these things, going back to South Carolina where you catch a slant, it looks like that there's nobody home.
Yeah,
you can't do that. Or where you catch 17 catches a 10-yard turnout route that every junior high runs. I mean, it was nothing to what they did, and we faint.
Yeah, nobody touches it. Yeah. And that's what they weren't doing earlier in the season. We talked about the biggest improvement for the defense was no busted plays. They're not giving up busted plays. They're playing pretty sound, and then all of a sudden, 2 games, it's back to.
I think we're tired. I think we're confused. I think we're a little hurt.
Yeah.
And the confusion comes from youth. The tired comes, you know, when you're young, you just don't know. And Rob's already, you know, going to put a theme to this. You just don't know how to go through this week after week after week after week. So it's all understandable. I think some of the best solution may be to rest.
Anything concerning you about A&M?
Yeah, but they got playmakers all over the field. And this is going to be a great test because they're not going to let this quarterback throw a lot downfield. They're going to try to get him throwing it with medium to short passes, which means what's the corners and safeties going to have to do? Tackle. Come up and tackle. Yeah. And that's where they're going to be challenged, and they're going to be challenged against 5-star guys all over the football field.
Absolutely. And we got to run to the ball, which I'll be honest with you, I hadn't seen anything close to a loaf on this football team in a long time. I think we're going to play hard. We always play hard.
Win.
But we got to relax.
It's going to be a comfortable win because they can't stop us.
No.
But they need to remember what happened the last time this team rolled into Jordan-Hare Stadium and go out and sort of give that right back to them.
Play with emotions. Play with emotions.
Yeah, there's no question. It's going to be a fun game. When we get back, it is closing time on Auburn Intel. Welcome back into the show. This is closing time. Luck, fate, destiny, these terms have been used plenty to describe Auburn's 2013 football team, and now those same terms are rearing their heads again to describe the 2014 Tigers, and honestly, the storyline's becoming a little bit played out. Has Auburn encountered some close games? You bet. Have there been some truly wild endings? Absolutely. But instead of throwing out luck as the reason Auburn won, dig deeper. Auburn led Georgia by 20 points with 12 minutes left last season, before completing a Hail Mary touchdown to end up winning the game. Maybe Ricardo Lewis' catch was lucky. Maybe Georgia was lucky they weren't beaten by 3 touchdowns. Auburn and Alabama were tied before Chris Davis' touchdown return. If Davis doesn't make it to the end zone, does Auburn lose? No. They go to overtime where Auburn could still have won the game. On Saturday, Auburn committed an uncharacteristic 13 penalties and threw an interception at the Ole Miss 20-yard line. Were they lucky to win because of Bo Wallace's and Laquan Treadwell's fumbles at the end? Or was that a heads-up play by Derek Moncrief and a hustle play by Chris Frost that should be remembered as determined plays, not lucky ones? Maybe Ole Miss is lucky Auburn committed 145 yards in penalties and didn't score more than 35 points. The point is this: calling a program that's 9-1 in one-score games under Malzahn lucky doesn't make a lot of sense. One play, one game, maybe, but 9 wins and 10 chances when the game is on the line isn't luck. It's a habit of finding a way to win.
2 consecutive weeks we've watched the Auburn secondary play poorly. Missed tackles, busted coverages, lack of communication, untimely penalties, explosive plays have all contributed to a loss of confidence in this group. The question I get asked most frequently is, how does that happen? The answer is complicated and it differs for each individual. I'll use Rudy Ford as an example. The first half of the season saw Rudy play stellar football, likely playing better than anyone defensively. He's new to the position, he's in battle in a lengthy fight to earn the starting spot, and is just cutting his teeth and learning how to prepare mentally and physically for the grind that is SEC football. He's undoubtedly tired, most certainly nicked up, and likely still trying to grasp the intricacies of the safety position. Keep in mind the level of competition and the environments he's played in have been at the pinnacle of college football. He's trying to balance that with schoolwork and what little personal life he has after that. There's no rest for the weary, as a poor week's practice could cost him the loss of playing time he's worked his tail off for. I think young guys still learning how to compete in this league tire as the season wears on. And what happens then? Well, you lose a step. You're out of position. Your technique suffers. Your tackling lacks authority. You garner penalties. So then what's the answer to a guy like Rudy Ford? The answer is this: you build depth. Early in the season, we played a ton of guys and we had better production. As the depth has faded, so have we. We need more depth in the secondary to finish this gauntlet.
You know, football is a game of emotions, and without emotions, it's not even fun to watch. We've seen in some years past, unfortunately, what unemotional football teams look like. But the emotions, as Rob just stated, the emotions wane when things start getting stale. You've been to practice so many times. You're not reinventing football out there. You're doing the same thing over and over again. At the same time, you've got the pileup of academics. You've got whatever family issues are always part of a young person's life. And so right now for this football team, I think we ought to take the lead from what we saw Gus do recently on his video. We got to find a way to make it fun. And Gus, maybe you need to bring that back. I mean, you know, I like your style a little bit, man. A little old-timey, but, you know, if they'll laugh at it, this is what I'd say down there on the plains. Don't leave the field without having some fun sometime. Let's keep this thing fresh. Let's keep the emotions in the game, and let's go play because we love just being at Auburn and being an Auburn Tiger.
Absolutely.
How hilarious was that? That video.
I liked it.
Just blew up. Went all every Sports Center, things everywhere. Gus Malzahn dancing to MC Hammer.
But he's right. Keep making it fun, keeping it fresh.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you talk
Don't
a lot
leave
about that
feeling
about
as somebody,
83.
there needs to be a jokester in the crowd or something.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to come out there and do something every day, laugh a little.
Yeah. Well, somebody asked him about this. Said, could this be galvanizing? And I think it can.
Yeah.
I think it can. It's a chance to just relax. You know, it's beyond football.
If we knew we couldn't win, we'd have something to be worried about.
Yeah.
We don't need to be worried. We need to go play.
One of the more endearing moments for Gus Malzahn, I think there's no question about it. Thanks for joining us. This was Auburn Intel. We had a good time. We'll see you next time.
War Eagle.